to Heart. Real people having real conversations about things that matter most to you. I'm Sherry Elise.
I'm Cyrus Webb.
I'm Rich Oseguera.
I'm Patrice Tanaka.
And we are Heart to Heart. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart to Heart. So excited that you are joining us today. Make sure that you say hello to us in the comments so we know who is here with us because, as always, you are our fifth co-host. My name is Sherry Elise and I am one of your co-hosts. Heart to Heart is an interactive talk show where you get to choose the topic. So each and every week, we ask you to send in something that you want us to discuss. Maybe something that's not so comfortable or just something that, you want us to have a heart to heart on. So we're going to put that submission question form in the comments. So if there's something that's on your heart, we can feature it on a later show. Hello, Michelle. Hey, Cody, Betty. Nice to see you all here. Don't forget to grab your favorite cup of anything and sit back, relax, and have some fun with us. And also don't forget to share the love by sharing this stream, this show. So these are the questions that came in this week. Martine sent in, how do you deal with things from your past that you regret? We also got in from an anonymous submission, how do you tell your partner you are no longer sexually attracted to them? And then what advice about love would you give your 15-year-old self? Well, those are some interesting questions. And halfway through the show, we are going to reveal in the vault which one is waiting for us. And as always, me and my co-host don't know which one's waiting there. So let's bring them on. Tracy, hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Nice to see you all. And first, before I talk to you guys, I just want to give a special shout out to our producer who's behind the scenes, Tracy. If you've been watching, you might have seen her. She shows up occasionally on some shows when she puts her eyebrows on. I don't know why I said that, but so I just wanted to give her a special shout out. How are you guys doing?
Doing really good.
Yeah. Yes, Rich is like, we talked before the show and he talked about being exhausted, which, to be totally honest, I am too. I just treated myself recently to a little solo retreat getaway. Every year, a few times a year, generally before the pandemic, like I always get this yearning. I'm like, I got to go to the mountains and I have to just be on my own in nature. And so I decided that last week was it. I did not play hooky from the show. I just wasn't feeling well. And I went shortly after that. And it was interesting, you guys, because it was the first time in a really, really long time where I had absolutely no anxiety, no stress. Even when I've gone away before in the last couple of years, there was this feeling of like, should I be back doing something? And for the first time in, I don't know, wherever, it felt like that my mind had finally caught up to like my soul, like where I was exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment. And I don't know if I've ever felt so perfectly aligned in a moment as I did then. So there's no other way to describe it. Like even when I was trying, this is going to sound weird, you guys, I was like trying to think about something that I should be doing or stressed about. And my mind didn't even like allow me to go there. It was like as if someone came and scooped away that beginning of that thought and just was like, I was like, my entire body was breathing. Everything was just, it was like a magical moment. Anyway, so my question for you guys is, I attribute that to presence, to being like fully present and I'm just curious if you guys ever have that feeling, or do you always find yourself thinking about what's the next thing? Like, do you sit long enough in a moment to appreciate it, to feel aligned, or is there always this pressure to do something else? Betty first says that she needs that kind of getaway. Yes, you need to give yourself that kind of getaway. We all do. So whoever wants to answer this first, I was just curious. I'm like the only weirdo that felt that.
I think, yeah. My astrologer once told me that because I'm a Cancer and Sag rising, I'm always looking at the past and looking at the future. So I'm not ever fully present, at this moment. So I'm always having to like catch myself. I listen to audiobooks as I roam the halls of my apartment building. And sometimes my mind is racing so much, I can't even listen to my audiobook. And I have to kind of remember, listen to the audiobook. You're walking, you're listening to the audiobook. It's interesting, but yet you're thinking about something else that you have to do. So it's a constant, kind of struggle to, like pull myself back and just be present. And that's really important. And I was actually listening to the audiobook of Untethered Soul, right? And it's all about being present, right? Yet I couldn't even focus on that. So anyway, an ongoing challenge, but so important.
Sherry, I love this question too. I think for myself, I'm so glad you found that. I enjoy everything.
I went away, by the way, since I got back, just so you know.
Oh, great. But I'm one of those people, I'm weird. I know that sounds crazy for me to say because I never say I'm weird, but I'm weird in that I enjoy every moment. And even though my life is split into a lot of different sectors, I enjoy every bit of it because I made a decision a long time ago not to do anything that I don't enjoy or feel stressed by. So for myself, every moment I feel that peace because I know I'm doing exactly what I want to do because I'm now at a point where I just say, you know what, if I don't feel it, I don't do it. So I love that you're able to feel that. And I wish more people could enjoy that because I think it would make life so much more enjoyable. And we would actually be able to savor it. One thing I'm not good at, to go to the point that Patrice makes, I don't get to stay in a moment very long. So I enjoy what I do, but then I'm on to the next thing. And it's like, oh yeah, I did that earlier, but I don't even get a chance to do that part. So I do wish I learned how to take more time out for that. But I love the idea of being able to savor the moment. It's definitely something I enjoy.
Before you hop in, Rich, I just want to say this to Cyrus because Cyrus and I met in person here in LA. And I remember we went out to lunch and you had actually said that to me, that it's hard for you to stay in moments because even as we were having lunch, you were thinking about, going on to the next thing. And as much as you were enjoying, I'm assuming you're enjoying my company. I mean, you'd be silly if you didn't. But you were saying that it was challenging for you to stay in there. So
yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, now I don't get stressed by it.
Right.
But if I do have regret, to be quite frank, if there is a regret, it's that I enjoy so much that I don't take the time to just enjoy one thing. And I think that's probably why my life is the way it is. But again, I love it all. I don't regret doing any of it. I just wish that I could learn how, and I haven't figured that part out, learn how to just stop and just say, I'm just going to take the afternoon and just appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Rich?
Oh, so many things in my head with this question. I mean, I definitely have, elements of everything that everyone has said so far. At this point in my life, I try really hard not to take things on that I don't want to do in any way, shape, or form. If I don't like it, if I don't want it, then I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. I've gotten to that place for the most part. So in other words, I don't take things on to make other people happy for the sake of like I'm responsible for their happiness. So that aside, I definitely take on a lot, and especially recently. And I thrive in that though. So this is where I might be a little more like Cyrus on this, that like I love having lots of things to do. And when I don't, I will definitely find ways to fill it. However, that doesn't mean I should. There are, there's my body right now is just screaming for like, stop doing things. And, going down the vein of Patrice, and she was talking about astrologers. I really try to live my life listening to intuition and the signs that show up all around us, and especially in my body. And just a couple of days ago, I made a video one morning, with the topic, do you listen to the signs your body is giving you? And then that same day, just hours later, I had a 10-minute space between two different calls. And I said, oh, I got to make this video. So I'm going to run out and I'm going to make this video, and it'll take 3 minutes. And I was walking backwards up a flight of steps, the very long spaced out step, but just around the side of our building here, because I needed to get just in the sun, just right, doing all the things. And as I'm walking back, holding my camera phone, I fell. I tripped on the step and fell down an embankment. And I don't know if you can, this is what's left. It doesn't look so bad now, but this was just all like scratched like crazy. And I don't know how I didn't break my back or crack my head open. If you look where I fell, it just is crazy, because it wasn't flat, it was down. And my head didn't hit the ground. I just feel like, there's the woo-woo part of me. I feel like an angel had like just stopped me from fully killing myself. and that's when I said, yep, it's time to sit the heck down. And but you want to know what's funny about that? I don't know if it's funny, it's just interesting. After I pulled myself up and realized I wasn't dead and seemingly not broken other than bleeding, I sat on the step and I thought, well, I have a couple minutes. I could still get this video done. And then I looked up, it was like these colliding thoughts. Then I looked to the windows, because there was like neighbors' windows. And I thought, I hope no one saw me. How embarrassing would that be? Anyways, it's good to take a break. It's good to know how much you can take on. And now I'm thinking of the Bible. There are seasons for everything. And I've been in a major season of activity and, working the field, so to speak. And now I need to like chill the heck out. So it's a season of rest.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely twinsies, Rich, because I fell the other day while I was hiking because I was too busy on my phone and I cut up my knee. So it was
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And it was like literally when I'm hiking is when I'm supposed to be like connected and everything. And then I was like, oh, I should film this. And then I had this thought that was like, no, you should stay present, as Patrice was talking about those conversations. But I let the phone win and then I fell. So same lesson, slow down, be present. And I'm curious for those of you who are watching, are you challenged by being present? Do you find yourself always looking ahead, further ahead? What is next? I think a lot has to do with our constantly connected world, technology based. You hear me talk about that a lot, like everything always coming at us. And I often just wonder, I'm like, what would happen, if we didn't have all these ways to connect? If I didn't have a smartphone with me all the time, that's constantly like talking to me like, who commented? What did you have to post? What do you do? And was actually just more present. And that's what I felt like I had in those 2 days, was just me. And it was, I don't know another way to say it, but like just perfection. So, loved it, and just really happy to be back here with you guys. Although I got to tell you, on the drive home, though, I was like, my heart started palpitating, and I'm like, all right, we're heading back to LA. And there's something about the slowdown and that's why I'm like, I got somewhere else to be.
Sherry, I'm curious. Did you turn your cell phone off for the 2 days that you were in the woods?
I didn't, but I wasn't on it a lot. Like I let that go. I was just fully in that moment. So, but I did like check in occasionally because I just did, but I wasn't glued to it. I didn't feel the necessity of it. It was a very different feeling with relationship with it. So, but anyway, y'all, so thanks for entertaining, my thought and hearing me out a little bit about that. But now it's time for our favorite part and the whole reason for Heart to Heart. And that is to have a heart-to-heart on what you sent in, what is important to you. So Tracy, let's find out what is waiting in the heart-to-heart vault. Ooh, how do I tell my partner I am no longer sexually attracted to them? Well, it's a good thing that that person wrote in anonymously, because they would have just told them right now and right here.
Oh, that question.
Yeah, so I'm just, whoever wants to go ahead and tackle this one, just.
Can we get that menopause question back?
It may surprise you guys. I would like to go first on this one.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, only because, I mean, I take it in a more general way because I've never had that problem. But I think when it comes to anything, just like we've talked about on this program before, it's about honesty, I think, and then finding ways that you can be able to maybe to come together. I mean, to see if there's a way you can fix it. And it could be just from having conversations, you know, on my show over the years when I've talked to especially different therapists about this. One thing they say is a lot of times it's not even it being sexually attracted. It could be something that's broken in the relationship that's caused now that to be impacted by it. So I think that open dialogue, I really think open communication is the key to everything. It doesn't mean it's going to fix it, but at least you can then get to a place where you're open and honest with that person. And who knows, there may be a disconnect there that is now causing, you know, them to look at you differently, or for them to look at you differently. And it affects, of course, you want to be intimate with them.
Yes, well said, Cyrus. I really agree with you about that. You know, there's a disconnect somewhere. That was, you know, my first thought when I saw that question was like, especially, and I'm gonna generalize here, but I do that often with big words like never and all people. So I'm just gonna go along with what my consistency. So with women, I often feel that, you know, sexual attraction has a lot to do with the emotional and the mental for us. And so speaking from a woman's point of view, in my own experience, let's just say, when I have no longer been sexually attracted to somebody, it's usually because there is something that's broken emotionally or mentally, something that has happened, and it's broken that down over time. And so I no longer look at them in that way because I'm hurt in other ways. Now, I don't know if that's true for everybody, of course, and for men, but I do agree with you, Cyrus, that there's probably something deeper there. Going ahead and how do you tell someone, that's the tricky part, because I do believe that honesty is, of course, needed here. But how do you share that type of information with somebody without, you know, breaking them or just making them feel just something wrong with them? And I think that if it were me and I was feeling that way, that I would start from the emotional standpoint, you know, and talking about intimacy and not having that connection any longer, because I think if anything, that's more probably where that is coming from. And to be totally honest, if you don't have a physical, like a pure sexual attraction to the person anymore, I don't even know if that relationship is any more like romantic or intimate, you know, or if it has just turned into now a friendship. I don't know, something to think about. What about you guys, Rich or Patrice?
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. That's happened to me where, and I was just for, you know, a few years very madly in love with someone. And now, you know, and that relationship changed just because there were outside events and things that changed, and so the situation changed between us, and but he's still one of my closest friends, and you know, I love him, he loves me, we know we can always count on one another no matter what. So there's something very comforting about that, and in fact it's almost kind of our love is beyond just the physical and the sexual attraction, because I love him and all that he is, and he's a lovely person. It's just that, you know, our relationship changed, And so if I wanted to still have that relationship, I had to accept and change with the situation. And I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't want him not to be in my life.
So did the relationship end at that point? Like
The sexual relationship, but our closeness has not. And, this has been going on. And it's not like I talk to him all the time, but, and what I love about him is that he's one of the only people in my life who has this ability to listen until you have said everything that you want to say. He doesn't interrupt. And that's really a gift, because a lot of times, I'm sure we all experience this. We're talking and you can tell that somebody's just dying to break in and tell you, their experience. And so, and you kind of leave sometimes not feeling fully heard, but and he's one of the few people who will listen until I have no words left. And it's such a gift, and I'm thankful, for that.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, Rich, on this? I'm curious.
Oh, I have many.
I bet you do.
It's hard not to generalize, right? Like you were saying. So yes, I'm a man, but I can't say I'm speaking on behalf of all men. And I'm a gay man, and so I think there are different dynamics that might I don't know. I've not been a straight man, that might come into play there as well. But sex in relationships for me has it's always been a thing that got to be explored from a healing perspective in my relationships. But Patrice, your story reminded me of one that I had a similar situation in New York City. Like there was just this crazy, electric, literal, a palpable, visceral connection between us. And so we both were like, wow, this must mean something. Yeah, it meant you guys were attracted to each other. And there was more than that, but we came together and there was it was the most romantic experience I might have ever had, on all levels.
Yeah.
Except for he just wasn't that into me physically. That became clear really early. Yet we were like, oh, we're in a relationship, and we even lived together. And it was very hard. I could tell, obviously, something was not happening, and he changed in his interactions with me. And then at some point, he did tell me. And it had to do with that he all the other boxes were checked except for that one, and because that part didn't work for him, he couldn't be with all of it. It was very painful. And it took me years literally to get over. Even just thinking about him, I would have this feeling in my body. Now I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. But it took a long time, and we remained very good friends. He's someone who I could call at any time, and he would do whatever he could to help if I needed help. But it took a long time to sort it out for my. I just remember walking around the streets of New York City crying, looking at things like, oh, that's where we had our first whatever. And it was awful. So I don't know. How do you tell someone? Well, if you feel that you need to tell them, if there's a lot at stake, then you just be nice and I guess tell them, because at some point the communication has to happen. That said, I want to the opposite of this is I no longer believe that sex is the binding force in a relationship. Right. I think it's important at this point in my life. I really don't care. And it's not the thing that's driving my relationships. And there's other intimacy. There's other forms of being close to each other. And so it's the opposite extreme of that sex is if you don't have that, then there's something wrong. So I guess to everyone who's listening, it's just, wow. It's such a complicated topic because sex is important, but should it be the thing that defines the quality of your relationship? Does it mean something's wrong if it's not present? I don't know.
Sherry, Rich and Patrice said something that I wanted to quickly say something about because it was interesting. I didn't know any of those stories, of course, but I think it proves an important point, again, that Heart to Heart tries to get to, that because of the honesty, you still have good friends. I mean, if you had not been in a situation where honesty was there, and either you told someone or someone told you, it could have disrupted the whole thing, and you guys could hate each other and not have anything. But I think, to be able to say, you know what, this is not working for me. Or is this working for you? Because I feel like something's off. I think having that conversation opens the door to a new dimension of connection to a person that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes. And I say that hesitantly because I do get that. I always believe in honesty, but I also wonder how much you need to say, like, if it's a deal breaker for you, meaning that if you know that you do not want to be with this person anymore, then I don't know the necessity in hurting someone the way that Rich was hurt in that way. If it's a relationship that you want to work out, then I think that that's something that could be explored and said in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like because what's the difference between saying to someone like, I don't feel this way about you anymore. I don't have that kind of love in that way, as opposed to telling someone that you're no longer attracted to them, because people's, hearts are on the line. Like there's just something about telling someone, and maybe it has to do with who you are and where you are in your own journey. And maybe you care what people think about you physically. Maybe you don't, but in some way it just feels like you would just hurt someone so badly, But I do think that you always need to be honest. I just think there's a level of honesty that is sometimes needed and other times not.
Well, Tracy says, and shout out to Tracy, our producer, she says, I agree. I don't think telling someone that the sex is the problem. Again, I have to say, there's a lot of problems. I haven't been pulled over by cops. I haven't been called the N-word, and I've never had sex. All of you should move to Mississippi. Life is a lot different than you think. but I agree with you. I mean, I'm the type of person who would say it. I wouldn't say it to be hurtful, though. Yeah. I wouldn't say it to be hurtful, but I would try to get to so that they could. And I also believe, let's be honest, people know when stuff is off anyway. Mm-hmm. I think someone just has to be courageous enough to be able to say it.
Yes. I think honesty is so important. I mean, if you love someone, you should be honest in a kind and loving way. Like, my feelings towards you have changed, but I still love you. You're one of, the dearest person in my life. There are ways that you can say it where the other person can understand it, but also have some clarity and, kind of finality about that part of your relationship. I think you can't not say it or not give some indication that,
Hey, we just got to be mindful of each other's feelings. Like sometimes I say to John, I'm like, because I've put on a few pounds over the pandemic and stuff. And I'm like, if you don't find me attractive anymore, like you could be honest with me and tell me if you don't find me attractive anymore. And he's like, of course I do. But I got to tell you, if he's like, yeah, you're right, he might not have a head anymore. So I'm just saying, there's,
That's why you get these.
we got to be, just take people's emotions and feelings into consideration while being as honest as we can. So thank you to the anonymous for sending in this question. I hope that if this is something that you are dealing with right now, that things have worked out in whatever way they're supposed to. And thank you all so much for being here with us today for another episode of Heart to Heart. If there is a question or topic that you want us to discuss on the show, please, I saw that face, Rich, click on the submission form and send it in to us. We would love to be able to have a heart to heart around it. Thank you, Cyrus, Rich, Patrice, and awesome Tracy behind the scenes for being here for another episode. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday on another Heart to Heart. Don't forget to take care of your hearts and one another's. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.